So if you're on this, if you're TCU trained, listen, Mark and Chavi have done the job, but I may be the spokesman for TCU women's basketball because I believe in these guys and I know what they can do. If they beat South Carolina, they're going to be 10-1 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of like, okay, like what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome in. This, of course, is SportsGrid. That much you knew. What you may not know is this right here. Oh God, I can't even wrap my head around it. After a long Monday, Thursday season of seeing you in this time slot previewing the primetime games, this right here is the only playoff edition, the final edition of the year of Pro Football Today. I know we'll have to wipe away our tears coming up in just a little while. Maybe we'll sing you off at the end of the show in an hour. But for now, we got a great game to talk about to close out Wild Card Weekend. Adam Kaufman, Tom Vecchio, and Dave Sharapan, the Sportsbook Consigliere. Fellas, how are you? Welcome. Good to see you. We got ourselves a hell of a game to talk about.
Who's
here.
The new guy?
Who's the new guy? Oh, me? This guy?
You're all clean shaven. The beard's gone. Last time I saw you, you had a big beard. It was like you got the hair blown up. What is this? This is something. Well, I mean, it's the last show, but you really blew it out. I mean, you cleaned up and look great.
The hair's not blown out. It's frizzy and overgrown, is what it is. And I wish I had shown up. I was going to come with the Tom Selleck mustache. I thought about it, but I got to tell you, I'm not sure the pictures did it justice, fellas. I need this game to do us justice tonight, because this right here has been the game of Wild Card Weekend that, since we were previewing all of them going into the weekend, this is the one I have been the most looking forward to. I am fascinated by what to expect in this one, and I'm loving the dog. The Rams, 2.5-point dogs, coming up in a game that was scheduled to be, of course, in their building at SoFi in Los Angeles. It has been moved to Arizona on account of obviously concern for public safety in response to the wildfires in Los Angeles. And if anyone out there is watching or listening to this program, our thoughts are with you. It has been devastating from here, just seeing the footage. I can't fathom what all of you are going through. Hopefully you are finding a way to stay safe and away from everything that is going on. We can distract ourselves with this world of football and how to bet and make some money on this game tonight. Dave, let's start with you. The fact that this is now, it's no longer, Minnesota, the road team, and LA, this is a neutral site game. This may as well be the Super Bowl. What is the impact of the neutral site game here in the postseason between these two pretty evenly matched teams?
Well, the game was pick 'em, or, maybe -1 either way before the venue change. And I echo all those thoughts. I got a lot of people being out west here. The stuff's starting to blow our way, all the smoke and all the other stuff here in Vegas. So it's been really an interesting couple days. I was going to go down to this game, but got the alert that we were putting the band back together at least for one more time this season. Couldn't miss it. It's been one of those weekends for the people. Started with Thursday in Notre Dame, and then Friday with Ohio State, and then Saturday with the 2 pro games. Nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me. The Steelers season is over. It is nighttime forever there. And then Sunday, it was just continued to roll. And the only dog that won, well, 2 dogs won, but one was a home team, the Texans, the first game Saturday. And then last night, that was the game I was looking forward to the most, and I think we got it delivered. I hope tonight's game resembles last night's game. But Vecchio, I'm not overly excited that it's going to, because the games have been going under. Can we get an over game tonight?
I don't think so. I have been on unders this entire weekend, and despite a overall maybe lack of excitement from some of these games outside of last night, I have been having a great time this weekend. First game with the Chargers and the Texans notwithstanding, we're not going to talk about that one. But the other games have been great. Some 51.5, whatever it was last night, which is far too high for a playoff game. 47.5, I think it's super close. I think we are in for an extremely close game. I am also on the Rams. Coming away with the victory. I think we will see some overs for some players tonight, specifically maybe a Sam Darnold, maybe some unders on Aaron Jones. We'll look at some of the position players, whatever it might be. I think we're going to see a 24-20 victory in favor of the Rams, 21-17, somewhere around there. I do think we are going to be hitting the under, but it's going to be very, very close.
Dave, I do feel like a lot of the time you'll kind of tip your proverbial cap. You've shown up to Vikings pre-game chats wearing all purple. We've seen you in the Rams gear in the past as well. We were debating before you joined our pre-show meeting here as to what you'd show up wearing. Tom mentioned could he show up in Rams colors in support for LA, little narrative street, and really you didn't do either one. So who do you believe wins this game?
Always keep them guessing. Kaufman, that's part of the game. Plus, the winner of this game got to play the Eagles. And as a guy in the book, we're trying to figure out what that number's going to be and who's going to give them a better game, because we got some great matchups coming up in the following weekend. My initial thought is Minnesota. I got Minnesota. I'm in a contest, and my last pick of the week is Minnesota, but I got -1. So, again, you get the best line. Sometimes those win. Sometimes they don't. I think Minnesota bounces back after the loss to Detroit, and it's been a fade machine. People have been picking against Minnesota. They played once this season in the exact scenario the week after they played Detroit, although they lost to Detroit at home, and then they came out to see the Rams and lost. I think, they lost to Detroit at Detroit. This week, I think they go and get it done. But again, I don't think either one of these teams is going to advance past Philadelphia. It's probably the game that a lot of people will kind of get lost in the shuffle, because we got some real storylines and A sides of the playoffs coming up in the divisional round. That's why I wore the Philadelphia stuff tonight, because I think the fate of either one of these teams, whoever wins, ends next week in Philadelphia.
So it's because we don't have a show next week, no primetime weekday game, that he's already
pretty much
showing his colors. He's dressing ahead for the eventual winner.
The last team that's playing football in Pennsylvania, Adam.
There you go.
I'm a little bummed out from the Penn State loss. Still, that one hurts. I didn't think Pittsburgh had a chance. Somebody's got to represent the great state of Pennsylvania. Might as well be me in the green stuff. Looks good.
Don't worry, Mike Tomlin is doing a great job there for you in Pittsburgh. Listen, Tom, with this, what was that? That was a perennial regular season success followed by playoff failure. That's what that was. That was a little NBA NFL comp for you, my friend. Not a slip of the tongue, as you may have assumed. So Matt Stafford versus Sam Darnold. It's an interesting matchup. let's start talking about these quarterbacks. We can get into the numbers and the props and all that stuff as well. But Stafford is 4-4 ATS in his playoff career. It's part of the reason, not Stafford specifically, but him, McVay, Cup, all that experience that has me on the Rams side going into this one, which, by the way, plus 2.5, I'm sure you can, I guess, but I just take the plus 120 or better on the money line if you do believe in the Rams. That would be my advice, but we can spend more time on that later. For Darnold, this is the first playoff experience for a guy who could very well, depending on how it goes, be making his final start as a Minnesota Viking, knowing that J.J. McCarthy is waiting in the wings, a big payday is waiting in the wings. Dave, does the quarterback matchup have anything to do with your handicap?
I think it does.
Go ahead, Tom.
We're coming up against a break, but we will get into the quarterbacks. I have a very specific take when it comes to Sam Darnold. I think this has to be a Sam Darnold front and center game for the Vikings. Although I think the Rams will win, it has to start with Sam Darnold tonight.
See, guys, that's why I was going to Dave. I know he'd just be buttoned up real quick. Tom, I knew you needed more time. I was saving you for the other side, my friend. That's okay. We'll come on back. More Pro Football Today on the way here on the Grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back here in PFT here with Dave and Tom. I am Adam. Again, we're looking ahead to Rams, Vikings, talking about the QB comparison. The man with experience, Stafford, who has not been playing very well over the last 5 weeks. Rams have been winning games with defense, not offense. We'll touch on that. And Sam Darnold on the other side, who is coming off a real dud in Week 18 in what was, to date, the most important game of the season, or at least of the regular season. with the number 1 overall seed, the first round bye at stake against the Detroit Lions. The whole Darnold looking Jetsy, turning into a pumpkin, doesn't even reach 170 passing yards, no touchdown passes for one of the only times this year. Not a good outing here, Tom. Does he rebound, or is that the true Sam Darnold here when it matters most?
I would say that wasn't just last week wasn't the most important game of the season. It was probably the most important game of his career up until this point. I mean, playing on the Panthers, it didn't matter. Playing on the Jets didn't matter. And what we see from Sam Darnold tonight, again, this is my thesis for this game. While I do think the Rams will win, as I said, this has to be a Sam Darnold game because hypothetically, let's say the Vikings do win, right? Vikings go on the road, and Dave, as you said, what would that line be for Philly? The way you beat Philadelphia is not by running the ball, right? So they can't come out of this game and say, oh, Aaron Jones had 100 yards on the ground and 20 carries. The offense looks great. And then hypothetically, if they were to beat Philly, which I do not think will happen, a rematch with the Lions, you have to go punch for punch with the Lions. And that means Sam Darnold having confidence. Sam Darnold being able to throw the ball for 250, 300 some odd yards to be able to put up the points to beat the Lions. So tonight has to start with Darnold moving the ball effectively down the field. So we can look at his yards. We can look at the over 1.5 passing touchdowns. But specifically for Darnold, I like over 33.5 attempts. The ball has to be in his hand to start. I also think the completions are in play. Going 18 of 41 last week was horrible. They have to move the ball in the air to build that offensive confidence if they want to have any shot, not just beating the Rams, but any shot of moving past them.
Dave, what do you think?
I don't know if I'm as concerned about the quarterbacks tonight as I am about the running game. After what we saw over the weekend, the running game is kind of making a comeback. And I think the winning team tonight is going to run the ball better than the other team. And it's vital for Darnold to have success with the play action and the Vikings running the football. So will he get his attempts over? He will if it's a higher scoring game. Worried about that. Number's a good number. I mean, it's going to fall within probably 2 or 3 either way. It's going to be tight. I think, Darnold, I guess he really didn't play very many important games with the Jets. The one who we're seeing the ghosts, I remember that one. But I don't remember too many. This is obviously the biggest game. And it's strange. Adam, there's people talking about, McCarthy finally got let go today or parted ways with the Cowboys. Right. Everybody's making moves, different things. Viking fans are already thinking about post-Sam Darnold Minnesota or whether he's going to stay or not. It seems crazy to me. Like, should they be focused on the game tonight? And I mean, if he has success, does that mean they're going to keep him? I don't know.
I don't know. You're talking about a hefty price tag that it would take to commit to Sam Darnold to get him to stick around. And, if you do that in the wake of what was obviously a very good regular season, well, J.J. McCarthy is the guy that you drafted to be the guy. Obviously, like Daniel Jones being in-house, who cares? That's temporary. He's going to be gone soon. But J.J. McCarthy was brought in to be the next guy, your franchise quarterback, to build around with the likes of Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, obviously Aaron Jones as well. And so, I don't know. I don't know what kind of performance we need to see out of Darnold to get them to make that commitment. Certainly if he goes one and done, though, as again, I believe he's going to me, that makes the decision a whole hell of a lot easier to let him go. When it comes to the running backs, though, you said it. I mean, top running backs across the league here in the postseason have gone off in these games so far. So whether you want to call that the running game making a comeback or just guys delivering on the biggest stage, I don't know. But now you got 2 of them tonight between the aforementioned Jones and obviously Kyren Williams. Now, Williams is, you're looking at it on your screen, or if you're listening, he has a much higher rushing prop. It's 81.5 versus not even 60 out of Aaron Jones. That's because they're utilized differently. Jones might be a little more involved in the passing game. But what gets me excited about Kyren Williams and makes me want to back him here in this game, Tom, is, 2 factors. One, there are a few guys that like to establish the run to set up the pass more than Sean McVay. So you know that Williams is going to be getting plenty of early down usage. On top of that, there's no Blake Corum anymore. You know, you wish he was available. He's an electric, a fun player, but he's injured. He's not available. So it's Kyren Williams, and then, like, Puka Nakuma's going to get some design runs. But your primary back is Kyren Williams, and so he's going to be getting the lion's share of the load. I like him to hit the century mark tonight. If not rushing, definitely rushing and receiving. I think he goes nuts in this game.
I do too. We've spoken about this game pretty heavily over the past, day or so, over the weekend of what we expect. And, Ronnie Rivers, is not going to be seeing carries for the Rams when it comes down to it because Blake Corum's not there. It's going to be Kyren Williams. So go to him on the yards, over on rushing plus receiving. I think the rushing attempts is also very interesting when it comes to Kyren Williams. He's going to be involved in, when we look at the Rams offense overall, with Kyren Williams, it's Kyren Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, that's where 80% of their offense can go to. So we know exactly where the ball is going to on the Rams side of things, and it should be a Kyren Williams-led offense for the Rams tonight. When it comes to Aaron Jones, I'm not super high on him tonight. I specifically like him under 14.5 rushing attempts. I think there's a chance that he will see decent yards tonight, but we're also going to see Cam Akers involved in the mix at least a little bit. Aaron Jones wasn't fully healthy the past 2 weeks dealing with his quad contusion. So will Jones have a normal amount of carries tonight? Sure, but him pushing to 16, 17, 18 carries is just not what I'm expecting, considering what I think their offense needs to do theoretically if they were preparing for next week versus Philly or the following week versus the Lions. They need to have the offense humming, and that's just not running the ball at a super high rate.
Don't rule out either. We have already seen the Rams allow big rushing games to quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and the Darnold-like Brock Purdy as well. Darnold could be running the ball.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We are back here on Pro Football Today, again, talking through Rams, Vikings. And, guys, we were just talking about the run game, and I do want to get to the pass catchers, the receivers in particular here in a moment. But one last thought, just sort of digging through some of the numbers during the break. So the Rams, we know, they rely on Kyren Williams. We have talked about it. That said, the Vikings had the second best run defense in the NFL, allowing 93.4 yards per game. When you look at Kyren Williams, though, the last time that he matched up with this Minnesota team went for 97 on the ground. That was, of course, back in, just before, what was it, before Thanksgiving? Or no, it was late October.
Yeah.
I was, getting my months confused. Late October when they matched up. And he went for almost 120 rushing and receiving combined in that one as well. Is this a guy, Dave or Tom, both of you, but let's start with you, Dave, that you just think that, stats are great, there for the Vikings. I'm glad you've had so much success stopping the run, but Kyren is just kind of a guy who's matchup proof.
I think so. Well, I mean, as long as he gets the usage. If the game dictates that they can't run the ball or are behind, then it's all thrown out the window. But as long as the game's close, within one score, he's going to touch the ball, and he's going to touch the ball a lot because you guys said it. There's no one else really to do it. I'm going through the numbers during the break, and you guys are talking about, rushing yards and different guys. And I heard you say it, Adam, that Puka is going to get a rushing attempt or two. His yards is 2.5. I mean, he's not going to get over 3. He's not going to get 3 yards rushing. If he's going to get at least 2 carries or 2 tries, I would think that that's maybe a layup. But again, I don't know if he's touching a ball other than receiving. I mean, his receiving numbers are crazy. He's officially the highest number there is. 93.5 for Puka.
Yeah.
So,
although only a smidge higher than Jefferson.
Right, which is surprising to me. I think Jefferson has a night tonight, boys. I think he gets triple digits. I'm not surprised. I like his longest reception over. I think there's going to be a big play or two in there for him. And I'm surprised that Puka's number is higher. I'd have probably made it the same or a little bit. Might have flipped the numbers, 93.5, 91.5. I think Puka's number in my head is 90. But I don't know. Tom, is there a guy because we did it all season, and there were nights where you just said it's this guy's night. Is there a receiver that you got kind of circled tonight?
Normally I would be saying that, but it's super tough in the playoffs. And, this is the one thing that I've tried to note on just various shows across, SportsGrid leading up to the playoffs and this week is we're going to see things hyper condensed for these teams. Like they're not going to be running, these dramatic plays, or they shouldn't be running these dramatic plays. Like we know where the ball is going when it comes to these offenses. And it's going to be Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson, maybe a catch or two here or there for Jalen Naylor, Johnny Munt, some of these backups. And the same thing we said about the Rams. So I'm not super high on some of these secondary players. Like I'm not going to hear me talking about DeMarcus Robinson or Tutu Atwell for the Rams just because they're not going to be seeing the ball. Maybe they have a catch or two, but they're not going to be seeing the ball at a super high rate, which makes props kind of tough because a 90 and 93 line for these players is so high. So we have to be looking at those players, but we have to be looking at the right capacity. And like you said, the longest reception for Jefferson may be one of the best bets to get him on because he can still go under on his yards, but over on his longest reception. I also have a tough time when it comes to some of the total reception props for these players just because how often will they be seeing the ball? So Puka Nacua at 7.5, that's a tough number for me to get to.
Right.
Longest reception is interesting. So Puka and Jefferson are both sitting basically 25.5, 26.5. And I realize that, that hook, it can certainly matter, obviously. But when you're looking at Nacua, I mean, we have seen 25, 27, 51, 29, 37 so far this year. A lot of the times he is, coming just a little under that high teens, low 20s. Jefferson might be just a touch more explosive, 31, 37, 39, 52, 30, 31, 41, 27, 27, 27, 28, 97, 44. So yeah, maybe more than a touch, obviously. And that's game by game. That's not even within games. And yes, you heard right when I said a 97 in there. So is there one guy, would it be Jefferson, that you're more comfortable with when the numbers are essentially equal?
I am.
I think it has to be.
Yeah, I think so. Adam, something for you to think about during the break. The running back receiving yards. I'm looking at Jones and I'm seeing 20.5. It's a great number. I'm hoping you got either him. I don't think Williams is going to go over 11.5 receiving, but there might be a guy there. Maybe anything.
Yeah, Jones would be the guy. We can explore it like you said on the other side. He would be the one, especially if those Vikings are trailing and they're passing, not running. We'll be back.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Back here, Pro Football Today again, looking ahead to the final game of Wild Card Weekend in Arizona after the move to a neutral site as a result, again, of the Los Angeles wildfires. We hope if you are out there watching or listening to this program that you have avoided any impact out there. But if you were impacted, obviously our thoughts are with you, and hopefully a speedy recovery to just general day-to-day is on the way. We're talking wide receivers, pass catchers here in the scope of this game. Dave has made the joke a number of times in past weeks. You know, we'll have these lousy teams matching up. It's like, these are the number one receivers. These are the comps. We're looking at two guys that are sitting in the mid to high 40s yardage-wise. Obviously not tonight.
Not
two of the
tonight.
best in the NFL, Puka Nacua and Justin Jefferson. You know, I'm curious, Dave. You know, it's a little more narrative street, obviously, but Justin Jefferson has appeared in one playoff game in his career. That was back to cap the 2022 season. Had 7 catches, 47 yards in that loss, 31-24 against the Giants, I believe it was. And if I remember right, or remember reading this right, I think of those 7 catches, only 1 was in the second half. I have heard people in Minnesota calling this, you know, a legacy game of sorts for Justin Jefferson, certainly for Sam Darnold as well, albeit in his first career playoff game. Do you agree with that? And if you do, or even if you don't for that matter, what does that mean for the performance you're expecting out of Jefferson?
Well, I think the only way that the Vikings can win is if Jefferson has a good game. So not that they don't have players that can't step up, and not that they can't run the ball for 200-plus yards tonight like a lot of teams did, but I think it is Jefferson's night to shine, and I think that, you know, Darnold has to know that. The Rams know that. Everybody knows that. Part of being a great player or leaving a legacy or having a legacy game is having the game when everybody expects you to have it. So, yes, I think it is a Jefferson night. I don't care what he did before. I really don't. These numbers are tight. They're efficient. And as I'm listening to you and Vecchio say these things, I know that, like, the numbers on the other guys are lower for a reason, because a lot of times when people come in to bet these things, they're not even looking at those other guys. In a regular season, they're looking at them more. There's other guys who will hardly take any bets. All the bets will be coming in tonight on Jefferson. It's probably the most efficient of all the props, rushing, receiving, passing. It's the hardest number to beat.
I got to agree. Like, we see a similar, somewhat of a similar comparison what we see in the NBA playoffs, where we're going to see, like in the NBA playoffs, you see the shots essentially funneled to 2-3 players and maybe one player off the bench, where they have a 7-man rotation and all the shots are going to, 75-80% of the shots are going to 3 players. That's what we see tonight. We're not going to be seeing Jalen Naylor have 5 catches for 90 yards or something. I like TJ Hawkinson, for the yards tonight. I don't like him for receptions. We're not going to be seeing him force-fed the ball. If there's going to be a player who will be force-fed the ball, it will be Justin Jefferson and then Puka Nacua on the other side. So you can certainly look to their receptions, but I would be looking at unders on receptions for other players, maybe outside of Jones, who I think we could absolutely be involved. But TJ Hawkinson under on receptions, I think, is very viable tonight.
Isn't it crazy, though, that all this time, we're this deep into the show and we're talking about who's going to catch the balls, who's going to make an impact on this game, and nobody is mentioning Cooper Kupp. Probably for good reason. Kupp over his last 5 games, there was one really good one. He went 5 for 8 for 92 yards in that high-scoring 44-42 win against the Bills. But outside of that, 3 catches, 17 yards. 0 catches, obviously no yards. 3 catches, 24 yards. Last time, 1 catch, 29 yards. This is a guy who, talking to some people that cover the team in L.A., he insists he's not hurt. Maybe it's just a function of he's not getting open the way that he used to. Maybe that's defenses sort of clamping down on him, but doesn't, inexplicably, leaving Nacua available. What I feel like I'm seeing when I'm watching games, Dave, is Matt Stafford. I don't blame him for this. This is not a criticism. If it works, it works. But he has just had tunnel vision for Puka Nacua. He's rarely even looking at Cooper Kupp. He's not even looking in his direction because Nacua is such an electrifying, route-running pass catcher out there who is moving the chains at will. And so when you look at Cooper Kupp, who, what's his prop tonight? Low
49 and a half. 49 and a half.
And you know what? I still don't want to take the over.
That used to be his first half number. Literally, it wasn't that long. It used to be 49 and a half, and we were debating, and there were times where we had to make it over 100 in the room. So it changes fast. I think part of the problem is when you watch them play, it takes him longer to get open, whether he's in a different spot on the field, where it used to be literally he would have the ball 1, 2, 3 steps, boom, he would catch it. Well, now that's Puka's job. Like, Puka gets the ball quick. Puka gets targets more. I don't know, but the Rams' path to victory, I think there's multiple routes to it. Obviously, running the ball tonight and controlling the ball, keeping, their defense off the field and limiting the time that the Vikings have the ball will be one way, but it might be him. I'm looking, Tom, you mentioned Hawkinson for the Vikings. Is there any factor for the Rams for tight ends? I'm scrolling this list. I don't even think, are they going to catch anything?
Tyler, Donnie asked me this question this morning on the early line about, who would be an underrated player that no one's talking about. It could be Tyler Higbee for me, but I think there's a very real scenario that Tyler Higbee hits the under on his receptions, maybe the over on his yards, but I could still see the under hitting, but he catches a touchdown, right? Because he has at least this veteran presence and this connection with Stafford when he gets to the red zone. I don't want to buy too much into the narrative of Tyler Higbee getting hurt last year in the playoffs and obviously recently returning, but Higbee ending with 2 catches for 18 yards and a touchdown, that could happen tonight because he has that red zone connection that has been successful with Stafford dating back a couple of years. When in regards to Cooper Kupp, there's a scenario where I don't want to say the beast has been lying in wait over the past few weeks and he has just been preparing himself for the playoffs, but I think there's only 2 outcomes tonight for Cooper Kupp. He falls way under, he ends with 25 yards. He's not even close to his prop, or he has 70 yards, right? And he goes way over that number because it's playoff time. Big players show up, like you said, in the playoffs. They have this perennial production in the playoffs between him and Stafford when they won the Super Bowl. It's all or nothing with Cooper Kupp tonight. That's how I feel.
Trying to do his best Travis Kelce impression, basically, circa, 2020. Regular season. Maybe, look, it could happen. I don't know. If I'm thinking about a secondary guy on the Rams that I would want to target, that quite frankly, I'm more comfortable investing in his over than I am that of Cooper Kupp, because I am invested in the over on Puka Nacua. I believe in him tonight. I'd ladder him up over 100, even though you're practically there, but still, you'll get some plus money on it. Demarcus Robinson, Tom, he's explosive. Ooh. You're not asking for a lot from him. He's a deep threat. 21.5 is his line.
Yeah, like I said, it comes down to how many catches will he actually have, because he's not going to have 7 targets. He has to get this done in essentially 3 targets, maybe 4 targets, 2 catches, right? That's where his line's going to be 4 targets, 2 catches, goes over 20 yards. That can happen. He's not going to be, I I mean, he did have that long catch against Seattle in overtime, right? If we date back to the regular season. So there are times that, but granted, Puka Nacua got ejected from that game. So there are times that Stafford has looked to DeMarcus Robinson. Obviously, he was fully involved in the offense when Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp were out in week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if I remember correctly. So there is some on-field connection with Robinson, but it just matters how many chances will we actually have at it.
Boys, the first touchdown prop is, I mean, the numbers are all over the place, but you got me interested, Tom, with this Higbee thing. 5-1. He's 26-1 to score the first touchdown. That would be a big score, but you saying he could score a touchdown at all is 5-1. That's one of the better prices of the night.
He's got like 2 over the past 4 weeks.
Oh, my.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Diving deep into the books. All right, we'll be back. Give you some same-game parlays for this Monday Night Football contest here on the Grid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So what's it going to look like? The Rams, again, getting 2.5 points in Arizona. Neutral site location with the Vikings favored in this game. Winner moves on to the divisional round to face Dave's Eagles. I say it that way because of how he is dressed. We've talked about the position players, the skill guys, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, even those tight ends. How about our favorite plays in the form of same-game parlays? All right, Vecchio, start us off. What do you have?
The last one of the year, we are coming in at plus 363. It is not a massive price. We don't want to be taking crazy shots. As I said, in the playoffs, teams should be doing things rationally. So let's just keep it simple. Justin Jefferson scores for the Vikings because he's going to be getting the ball. Puka Nacua scores for the Rams because he's going to be getting the ball. Now, we are taking alt lines on Matt Stafford and Sam Darnold to 200 plus. So we have to look at these odds for, Sam Darnold for 200 plus yards at that minus 600. Obviously, you could take him on his normal yards, but I just don't expect this game to be pushing towards 50 points. So I want to say at least some amount of passing for both quarterbacks. So 200 plus for both quarterbacks. The main guys catching the ball, it is only plus 363. This is something, Dave, we have discussed the entire season of. We want to make sure we're evaluating the price on things. Sometimes you like the picks that I have in the SGP, but you don't like the price, or vice versa, whatever it might be. So this one I think is maybe threading the needle a little bit tightly when it comes to the price, but I do really like the props in the SGP.
So I'm really interested to see what direction Dave goes as far as choosing his favorite here, or if he deems it a tie, which would be such a cop-out in the final edition of Pro Football Today for the season. But here's why I think he's going to have trouble. Because, Tom, you just gave him a very compelling same-game parlay, but with two what he might consider iffy legs, going for it legs, if you will, in anytime touchdowns, right? I'm doing the same thing with one. I've got a 3-legger for you, similar odds, almost 4-1. I have 2 receivers and then the Rams money line. The Rams, the underdog, on the money line at plus 120. When these teams matched up back in late October, and I know apples to oranges, right? Not the same thing, but just to give you some numbers. Rams won that game, 30-20. Puka Nacua and Justin Jefferson each exceeded 100 receiving yards in that game. If we are to believe that the best players are going to be the best players at the biggest stage with everything on the line, you just saw it, or if you're just listening, I will tell you, I've got Nacua 80+, I've got Jefferson 80+, which is both about 10, 12 yards below their baseline. They're both in the low 90s. Those two coupled, obviously a lot of juice individually, but those two coupled with that plus money hit on the Rams to escape the Vikings and win this game, again, you are getting in the vicinity of nearly 4-1, depending on where you do your shopping. That is, it's the whole tell yourself a story. It's the narrative of it all. It's how I expect this game to play out, Dave, and that's what I've built for you and for everyone out there watching and listening tonight.
I'm going to throw it back to you real quick, Adam. What's the one you're most concerned about? You only have 3 legs of it, but what is the one you're most concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be the Rams winning the game, obviously. They're underdogs, but I do think they're going to win.
Okay. So, and Vecchio, which one are you most concerned about? Because you never do this, but you have 2 guys on anytime touchdown in this thing. Yeah. I mean, I saw that and I went, wait, are you good? Like, are you under duress? Did someone make you do this? Because you never put 2. You always put 1. So what's your concern when you look at a 4-legger that you got?
So I'm actually not concerned about the touchdowns. Like they need to be getting the ball to the best players, like Adam said. I'm actually most concerned about Stafford getting to 200 yards. That's what it'd be, because if they theoretically do get out in front, and as Adam has discussed, we kind of laid out, like, we know that Sean McVay wants to run the ball. They want to run the ball. So there's a chance that Stafford gets, like, let's call it like 180. Kyron Williams has 100+ on the ground. They score. Stafford could have 180 and 2 passing touchdowns. Kyron punches one on the ground, add in a field goal. That's the 24 points I talked about. Rams win the game 24-20, 24-17. Stafford falls under. The players score, but he doesn't get to those yards.
Well, and Dave, just to add to that, by the way, like Stafford, when he faced the Vikings last time around, he did eclipse it, relatively easily, went for 279. But if we're going on recency bias, 4 of his last 5 games, 189, 110, which Tom and I remember all too well, 160, and 183. Okay? So that's 4 out of his last 5. He's been held under 200 passing.
Man, I mean, his passing prop right now, his regular passing yards is 243.5. So, and that's minus 110. I have to think he's going to get over 200. All right, if I got to pick, I'm picking Vecchios tonight. But I think both guys scored a touchdown, and I think one of those ones before. If I have to pick, I mean, like, listen, we started the season this way. We're going to finish the season this way. I'm picking this one only because, Adam, you said it yourself. Like, I like the Vikings, so that's the one my holdup is. I think both of your props go over. I think those guys do get at 80+. Taking them down off of that 90 number is probably not a bad idea. If you guys, people are watching wherever you are, probably not a bad idea, because the only thing that prevents that from happening is game script blowout one way or the other, where, I mean, somebody ends up 89 or 85 or something like that instead of 90+. So good luck to both of you. I hope you both hit it. That would be a perfect way to end it. Well, Well, no, because I have the Vikings -1. I don't want you to win that.
Yeah,
but
you
that's
see?
fine.
Yeah.
What
My question would be
is,
if we combine them and remove the TDs, remove the money lines, and then go yards on Jefferson and Nakua, yards on Darnold and Stafford, then we don't care about the touchdowns. We don't care about the money line. The ball's going to the main players.
No, but we probably don't have as compelling a parlay. I mean, I could build it for you real fast just to tell you what
that's what I'm saying. But the odds may not be 4-1, 5-1, depending if if we all come down to 200.
I'm going to throw
225.
I'm going to throw one at you guys. Kicking props.
Yeah.
Both guys. Cardi 6.5. Richard
Rams guy.
6.5. I guess.
Guy.
No,
I think they both go over. I think there's a lot of stalls in the red zone tonight. There's more, there's more than 6.5 points by each guy. How about that?
All right, so Nakua 80, Jefferson 80, Darnold and Stafford each at 200. That is only on FanDuel 2-1 plus 201.
Ooh.
You need.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Few more minutes with you here on Pro Football Today. Dave, Tom, I am Adam. All right, we gave you some SGPs, gave you some SGP options even. Dave generally likes to take this last segment to look into the future a little bit. I know Wild Card Weekend is not entirely wrapped up, but we can show you what the updated NFL playoff picture looks like. So we have got Houston, who upset the Chargers, one of the only dogs to move on so far, will face the Chiefs coming off the bye. Ravens, Bills, that's the battle of the MVPs, the game that everyone is looking forward to, obviously, in prime time. We also, of course, have the Lions off their bye against the Commanders, who took care of business against the Buccaneers, and the Eagles waiting in the wings, pun intended, I guess, for the winner of this game here. Dave, what interests you most going into the divisional round?
Oh, man, this is going to be – I love the divisional round. Literally my favorite weekend of football. It's usually all pretty good teams. You know, everybody that's got there earned it. And, I mean, Saturday's going to be great, but Sunday's going to be just phenomenal. And I cannot wait to see Baltimore play Buffalo. the debate going back and forth. We were talking about a little bit during the break. You can pick guys to win the Super Bowl MVP now and, pick the winner of the AFC. There's a debate going on right now amongst my odds maker friends. Who's the favorite right now? If you make it not just odds to win it all, but if you were to make a line, AFC, NFC, which all the books out here do, the NFC's favored. And I don't know if that's because Detroit's the biggest favorite of the weekend going forward, and Detroit's going to beat Washington. It's been a great story in Washington, and it's fun to see that team come back. But Detroit is going to advance to the NFC Championship, and they are the odds-on favorite. You have it right there. I cannot wait. I think it's going to be a really fun weekend. Hard to believe, but I think Kansas City obviously advances again. They have a 2-game parlay to get back to the Super Bowl and play for their 3rd straight in New Orleans. My goodness. I mean, just get whoever wins the Buffalo-Baltimore game, be healthy. So maybe we could get somebody different down there in the final game. That's what I'm looking at, guys.
I would echo a lot of that. I think it's interesting that the NFC, granted on that board they have two of the 3 favorites with the Eagles and the Lions obviously being there. That's, I assume, why the NFC would be favored. I just want to give my quick take about the Chiefs game versus the Texans, which I kind of briefly stated on some various shows between last night and this morning on the early line. Here's what's going to happen. The Chiefs are going to win that game. 7.5 number. What has been the story for the Chiefs this entire season? Oh, they don't cover. They're good. They win. They don't cover. Them. Doesn't matter. The Texans, they'll cover. The Chiefs will win. You can take the Chiefs in-game. If the Texans get out and score first, the Chiefs will cover -2.5 or -3 if that's an in-game number. They cover that number. They won't cover 7.5, and they win the game, and they move on. We know what's going to happen.
Looking at who we have left, obviously, I mean, it's not like this, like Buffalo didn't go out to Denver in the first round or something like that. So I'm not sure anything that really happened in round 1 to this point, or even tonight, no matter what happens, impacts how you view the Super Bowl going forward. I mean, I've been saying forever, for months, that I think it's going to be Bills against the Lions. That's the collision course that I am expecting, that I am rooting for, Dave. But what about you? I mean, are the Chiefs on their way to you mentioned the 2-game parlay? Are they on the way to being right there in position for a three-peat? Or does Baltimore or Buffalo, the winner of that game, have the chance to really knock KC off?
I think one has a better chance than the other. I mean, what I saw from the back end of the season from the Ravens, and then, all night Saturday night was Derrick Henry, and battering ram. If they get through Buffalo, I think they have the best chance to go back and avenge that opening game loss in Kansas City and win the game. I don't know. It would be an unbelievable story, Adam, if you get that exacta ticket and get that Buffalo-Detroit. We'll have a lot to talk about, and there's nothing more. My favorite thing in sports is seeing 2 teams in the championship that have not won. And it would be fun to win. It would be great. I mean, it reminds me of that, Indians and Cubs World Series in 2016. We had the most fun we've ever had in a sports book. I swear, it was unbelievable. People bet it, new blood, new fans, action galore. That would be a good one. Just don't know if they can beat the Bills.
Tom?
I have a Chiefs-Lions direct matchup ticket, so that's what I am rooting for. I mean, I would want to see the Lions or the Bills win. That's who I would want to see win, just because I want to see a new team win. So Lions, Bills, throw the Ravens in there, but I do have a Chiefs-Lions ticket.
It's been a really fun season here on Pro Football Today. Our thanks to Vinny, Tommy, everyone behind the scenes who has helped out, those who have been with us along the way, including, of course, Dave and Tom. I am Adam. Hopefully we'll catch you again next season, but until then, we'll see you a whole lot sooner here on SportsGrid.